Hi students, in this video let us discuss about kingdom Protista. Now let us see what are the organisms which are grouped under kingdom Protista. Now after kingdom Monera, the advanced organisms, that is the organisms which are eukaryotic, they are being classified under the kingdom Protista. And one more important features of kingdom Protista is the organisms which come under kingdom Protista are showing both plant as well as the animal characteristics. This makes the kingdom Protista very interesting. Now the biologists who are going to study these organisms, if he is a botanist, then he is going to consider that that organism is a plant, and if he is a zoologist, then he is going to tell that that organism belongs to an animal group. Now under kingdom Protista, we have divided many groups, subgroups. There are 5 subgroups, that is chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoid, slime moulds and protozoans. Now let us see here one by one. Now first group is chrysophytes. Now the diatoms and golden algae are coming under this chrysophytes. Okay, they are usually found in freshwater and marine water both. Even terrestrial forms of chrysophytes, that is diatoms, are also available. Then if we see the cell structure, they are microscopic in nature and you require a microscope to see them. And I told you that they are referred to as golden algae. Why? Because they have a pigment in them called as fucoxanthin, and this gives the yellowish brown color tinge to the algae. Okay, and next is they are also called as plankton. The size of these organisms is very small and they keep floating on water, and they are the primary producers, or they are the producers of that particular ecosystem. They convert the carbon dioxide into carbohydrate by utilization of the sunlight, which is called as photosynthesis. Okay, and next is the very important part is the cell wall. This is the very important part for your examination. Here the cell wall is chiefly composed of silica. The cell wall is chiefly composed of the silica in case of the chrysophytes. Now what happens after the completion of the life cycle, when these diatoms are about to die, these cell wall or the silica, when they die, they come and settle at the bottom of the ocean floor. And now when they come and settle here in the bottom of the ocean floor, then they are called as diatomaceous earth. Now this diatomaceous earth, which chief component is silica here, this is used for polishing purposes. So hence this diatomaceous earth act as a abrasive. Now very important is for your NEET examinations and all, one is you have to remember the characteristics, and also you have to remember the examples. So I have mentioned here 2 examples, that is first example is Pinularia and the second example is Navicula. Now the next subgroup, that is dinoflagellates. These organisms are also found in marine and fresh water. Both are aquatic, they are found in water, and here these are also microscopic in nature. Okay, you need a microscope to see them. Now if you see the cell wall nature of dinoflagellates, they have the cellulose. If you see here, the cell wall in case of chrysophytes, that is diatoms, it is having the silica, whereas the dinoflagellate, the cell wall is made up of the cellulose. Like this comparative study you have to do. Next is they are available in different colors like yellow, green, brown, red, etc. And we have to remember one thing, students, that this color is due to difference in the pigments. Now if the pigments keep on changing, their color also will be keep on changing. Now as the name indicates, dinoflagellates. Di refers to 2, flagella refers to the locomotory organ. Now they have 2 flagella. One flagella is transverse or horizontal, and one more flagella is located in the longitudinal manner. So they have 2 flagella like this. Now one more very important point what you have to remember as dinoflagellates is concerned is they produce toxins. So when they produce toxins is, or when this toxin reach to a very extreme level is, when there is a formation of a red tide. when there is a formation of red tide. Now what is this red tide? See, when the nutrients in a water body gets increased, it leads to something called as eutrophication. Now what is this eutrophication? That is abundant or luxuriant growth of a particular kind of a algae or dinoflagellates. Now it produces a toxin, it is called saxitoxin. Now this saxitoxin, when it enters into the system of a marine creatures like fishes, etc., they die or they become paralyzed. And you know that if the fishes get paralyzed, they cannot swim properly, and which ultimately lead to the death. Example here is Guianolax and Nautileuca. Now the third category what comes here, that is the euglenoids. Now when we see euglenoids, these are also the freshwater forms. Marine forms are also available. Then these are microscopic in nature. Now if you see the cell wall here, in case of chrysophytes it was silica, here it was cellulose. Now here instead of cell wall it has a proteinaceous layer which is called as the pellicle. Next, if you see the nutrition in both cases, that is in chrysophytes and in dinoflagellates, it is photosynthetic in nature because they have the photosynthetic pigments. Euglenoids, they have the photosynthesis pigment, but nutrition is of two types, that is autotropic as well as heterotropic. In presence of light it goes for photosynthesis, whereas in absence of light it goes for the heterotropism, that is it is acting like a predator. Okay, and pigments, the pigments which are present in the euglenoids resemble the pigments which are present in the higher organism, and the best example here is the euglena. Now the next one is slime molds. Now these slime molds, actually these were first classified into kingdom fungi because they had certain characteristics which they showed, but after many research it was again brought back to kingdom Protista only. So these are the saprophyte. Now what is saprophyte? Saprophyte means it is a kind of heterotropic nutrition in which the organism is going to depend upon the dead and decaying matter. So these slime molds usually they eat or they feed on decaying matter, they eat bacteria, protozoans, etc. Okay, so this is very important thing, and usually they will be single celled. When the food is abundant, actually they will be in a single celled, but as there is decrease in food, the single celled they will assemble to form a co-aggregates, and these aggregates will lead to something called as plasmodium. This will lead to something called as plasmodium, and plasmodium is nothing but it is the fruiting body. It is the fruiting body, and this fruiting body it give rise to the spores. And the speciality of these spores are very much resistant to the environmental conditions. And the last part what we have here, that is protozoans. Now as we can understand by this term here, proto refers to primitive and zoa refers to animal. So these are one of the primitive groups of animals we can say, and most of them, all of them are unicellular. They are found in freshwater and marine, that is salty water, and even some are terrestrial forms, and usually these will be present in the stagnant water. And if you see the mode of nutrition, it is always heterotropic. Okay, and here as we have seen, the protozoans again they will be further classified into amoeboid protozoans, flagellated protozoans, ciliated protozoans, and sporozoans. Now if you see here, this classification is based on the presence of the type of locomotory organ. In case of amoeboid protozoans, they don't have a special locomotory organ, and the cell structure itself acts like for example we call it as pseudopodia. Now the cell body only acts as if it is a locomotory organ. Now the best example for amoeboid kind of protozoans is amoeba. Okay, the next is the flagellated protozoans. As the name indicates, here the locomotory organ is the flagella. So we can see that the protozoans now which have the flagella, they are called as flagellated protozoans. Even you can give an example of a euglena, because euglena is a flagellated protozoan. Then even you can take examples like Nauticulata, it is also the flagellated form. Then the ciliated forms are, or ciliated protozoans are, the organisms which have the cilia as their locomotory organ. Usually there are two examples here. One is Opelina, other one is Paramecium. Okay, but this Paramecium also have a one more wonderful structure called as gullet, and this gullet will actually communicate with the external environment. Okay, and last one is the sporozoans. The best examples is the Plasmodium, Plasmodium falciparum, which is a potential malaria causing protozoan, and these actually produce the spores. So they are classified in a group called as sporozoans. So whenever you are studying, you have to compare all these characters of different subgroups, and you have to remember the important examples here. Or else, if you remember the examples, you can write the contrasting characters which are present in the different subphylums. Thank you.